Hey everyone, Dan from FB Geeks here, and today I'll be reviewing the Delta horsepower. Now, the horsepower comes in three colors: red, black, and blue, with two trim platings in ruthenium or rhodium, and two nib options, steel or fusion. In the US, the horsepower will be available in all three colors, but only the ruthenium plating and the steel nib. This was a decision made by Jaffa, the US distributor of Delta. The pen be reviewing today has rhodium trim and the fusion nib. This pen came from Fonto Plumo in the Netherlands, and Fonto Plumo does ship internationally, and I'll include a link to that in the description below. So let's take a closer look at this thing. The packaging for the horsepower isn't entirely new, but it's still good. The bright red paper sleeve does a great job of grabbing your attention and is littered with the Delta and horsepower logos, as well as a sketch of the fusion nib on the backside. Pop the top and we see the same style packaging first introduced with the Fusion 82. I liked it then, and I like it now. The little box near the bottom contains 3 cartridges, and included inside the pen is a converter. Beneath the box is a plethora of paperwork, including promotional material for the horsepower itself, the fusion nib, some warranty information, and instructions on filling and using the pen. I actually really like this packaging from Delta. I've never seen anything like it from any other manufacturer, and the glossy black acrylic makes for a great canvas, but it is a magnet for dust and fingerprints. An elastic band keeps the box closed, and when removed allows the lid to swing open and reveal the pen underneath. Very nice. Delta says their inspiration for this pen came from the image of power associated with racing. The roaring engines, bright colors, the technological design, the shiny metals, and whatnot. And since horsepower is the unit of measure for power, that's what they've named this collection. The pen features a band of carbon fiber around the section as an attempt to tie into that racing idea, and the unique shape of the cap is said to be inspired by the shape of a Formula One car, the narrow portion being evocative of the cockpit. I suppose if I really try I can kind of see it, but what gets me is that due to the cap's unique shape, it's basically the centerpiece of this pen, and there's nothing to explain why it's shaped that way. I had to email someone at Jaffa to find out that it's supposed to look like a top-down view of an F1 car. You would think that would be a major advertising point for Delta, but I couldn't find that information anywhere. I do like the bold clip on this pen though. There's a lot of tension in it, and the roller wheel is a nice touch, but rendered less effective by the little divot in the cap it sits in. It actually makes clipping the pen into a shirt pocket more difficult, but once in place, the pen isn't going anywhere. Delta must not want you to forget this pen is part of the horsepower collection because they've cast it in big, bold letters around the Capband. I actually like the design of the Capband. The textured background contrasts very well with the raised, polished letters, but the horsepower branding just seems a little tacky to me. The horsepower features a comfortably contoured section with a convex profile that measures 13 millimeters at its widest and 11.3 at the front of the section. This pen comes with the fusion nib, which is really only different from the steel nib in that it comes with a piece of 18 karat gold glued to the top. Also, the upcharge for picking a fusion nib over a standard steel nib is about $140. Isn't that about the same difference between a steel nib and a solid gold nib from any other manufacturer? So much for that savings the fusion nib was supposed to bring with its use of less gold. Thanks, Delta. The horsepower is a pretty large pen, nearly as tall and thick as a 149. Here, from left to right, we have the Pelican M200, the Pilot Falcon, the Mont Blanc 149, the Delta Horsepower, the Stipula Etruria, the Pelican M805, and the Lamy 2000. Uncapped, the horsepower loses a bit of its length and has kind of a thick, stocky look to it. The nib is decently sized and well proportioned to the pen, and I think it holds its own among this group of fine writers. Posting the cap does bring back its length. Noticed it's just a wee bit shorter than the M805. In the hand, I really didn't like using the horsepower unposted. The pen felt too fat and short for me, and I felt I didn't have the kind of control over the pen that I prefer. The cap does post securely and sits well down on the barrel. I much preferred the pen in this posted position and actually found it to be very comfortable. The narrow portion of the cap sat perfectly against my hand and helped the pen settle into position. This probably won't be the case for writers with smaller hands, but I don't imagine it becoming a comfort issue. The horsepower uses the cartridge converter filler, which does aid in convenience and ease of cleaning. When I first tried to remove the converter, the fit was so tight that I thought it was threaded in, but it's not. The converter just fits very snugly, which is a good thing. It should help reduce any chances of leaking. I was first introduced to the Fusion nib in my review of the Fusion 82. It was awesome then and it's awesome now. The medium nib in this pen is true to size, if a hair on the fine side. It's wonderfully smooth and makes you just want to keep using the pen even after you've run out of things to write. The nib really is the star of this pen. Combined with the Delta Blue ink and this rhodia paper, the writing experience was truly a treat. Being a steel nib with an additional piece of metal on top, there's not going to be much give in the tines. I wouldn't even call the nib springy or soft. I had to exert quite a bit of pressure to get the minuscule bit of line variation you see here. Flow isn't overly wet or dry. It's set about in the middle of the road and I think should please a lot of users. Really, the best way to use this nib is with light pressure and just let it glide across the page. So that's the Delta horsepower. It's a great writer with a unique design. The steel nib version is available in the US for $225, but should be available for around $180 from most retailers and come in sizes extra fine through broad and a factory stub. That's not a bad price considering the kind of performance you're getting, but I think the design is going to put off a lot of people. The Fusion nib is considerably more expensive if you're in the US. You're going to pay almost $400 from a European retailer due to the currency conversion. I'm sure it'd be cheaper had Jaffa decided to import it, but it kind of makes you wonder why they didn't. As if the performance didn't justify the increased price. I don't really know, that's just kind of pure speculation on my part, but what I do know is that whoever wins this pen will be very happy with the Fusion nib. You did know we're giving this pen away, right? Check out fpgeeks.com for all the details or hit the link in the description below. You'll have until the end of May to enter, so you've still got plenty of time. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this review, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button below. Until next time.
Indulge.